I have thoughts about the kind of people who complain about cringe. Anyway, Homestuck cringe, and let me tell you about Homestuck and goons and other members of my generation of nerdery getting very annoyed by the idea of people liking things. I have a story I want to tell, an incident from fucking years ago that has stuck with me. I was briefly a part of my university's student film unit. I used to be really interested in filmmaking. The experience of actually doing it rather disillusioned me. But this was while I was an undergrad. I was in this film unit. And one of the things we did was we did little video projects for other student societies. One year, the Drama Society, actually one of two Liverpool had two drama societies. One of which was the Liverpool Student Drama Society, and the other one was called Liverpool University Student Theatre, which was a strike of genius because it abbreviates to LUST. One or other of them asked us to film their Christmas panto. And we said, yes, that's the kind of thing we do. Student Drama Society means Twitter. If the people causing most of the Twitter drama were actually students, the drama would be of a far higher quality. But we made this plan, we were going to record their Saturday matinee performance. So we turn up to the Guild of Students building on the Saturday morning, pretty early. So that we can set up while they're doing their setup and so on. And the building is locked. We can't get in. There was supposed to be someone there to open it for us, and they hadn't shown up. Phone calls were made. Further phone calls were made by the people who had been phoned. We were told that somebody had been dispatched to come and open the building for us. There was going to be like half an hour to kill while we waited for that person to arrive. And the Drama Society, very sensibly, standing in the little plaza out front of the building, got on with their warm-ups and their team building exercises and stuff, where they all dance around in circles and chant together and things. And there's probably 30 of them and then 4 of us on the film crew. And one of the guys on the film crew got really, really snotty scornful about this, about them doing their warm-ups in public. It's like, look at these clowns, look at the fools they're making themselves. Basically having a very strong cringe response to it. I remember standing there with this guy thinking, this response that he's having is disappointing and sad and actually kind of hateful. I really, really... It soured me on him as a person to see him respond like that. Even though, I sympathized with what he was experiencing in terms of, I'm looking at this, I'm uncomfortable being associated with it. But for me, that was tempered by envy. I was looking at the Drama Sock kids doing their thing and being like, I wish I felt confident enough in myself. I wish I was passionate enough about the things I do to do that. To not be bothered that this was happening in the streets. You know, I had the same cringe response at the time. But I have always felt that kind of cringing is a character flaw. And you know, I am of an age where that kind of cringe response just was culture for us for a long time, right? We were supposed to have that response to anybody who actually cared about stuff enough to do anything. but yeah, you know, let me tell you about Homestuck. You can imagine how something awful as a community felt about, let me tell you about Homestuck. Kids being into something enough to cosplay it or act out little skits, make music, parody songs, which came up in this conversation. In fact, I think the reason this came up in conversation was that they started talking about oh, what was it called? Everyday I'm Hussying. An Everyday I'm Hustling rap parody. Homestuck Filk, which, you know, segueing from that to talking about Homestuck cringe in general, I think is a mistake, because the problem with something like Everyday I'm Hussying is that it's a white person ripping off black culture and making the joke straightforwardly, this is a white person doing black culture things. Like, basically all white parody rap is that one joke. Haha, wouldn't it be funny if a white person rapped? And in a sense, cringe is the appropriate response, aesthetically at least, to that kind of cultural appropriation. You know, we should be embarrassed when people do that shit because it's gross and bad. But that's very different to, you know, looking at some kids cosplaying Homestuck at a convention, or dancing the Hara Hara UK in public, which is a thing from a little bit earlier, but not very much earlier. The kind of sneering response to it. And I fucking hate that sneering response. Like, there are things in the world that are worth sneering about. And young people caring about something enough to publicly express that they care about it is not one of those things. It's not really cringe culture, it's sneering culture. We let it off the hook when we talk about the cringe, because that's something that the person doing the sneering experiences, and it doesn't really reflect on how those attitudes affect the people who are just like liking the thing that they like. You know, it's the attitude, and you know, to use an absolutely classic something awful example, let's talk about Groverhaus, because Groverhaus is genuinely funny, and I would say is not really cringe. Right? With Groverhaus, you're looking at somebody. It's more like mocking, you know, an Elon Musk. You're looking at somebody who has a bunch of resources, and instead of using them well, has decided to use them out of more or less pure. Oh my god, you don't know what Groverhaus is? It was a particularly infamous piece of goonery. There was this guy, I think his name was Grover, I think that's where the name comes from, who had... he owned a house. I don't think he built the house from scratch. He bought this house on the edge of the Great Dismal Swamp, which is somewhere in... oh, northeastern US? But this guy fancied himself a bit of a builder. He planned some renovations for his house and an expansion and stuff, without doing anything to take account of the fact that he was building in a swamp, and also didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing. Like, it was a disaster. The house was architecturally unsound, it was engineering unsound, it was unsafe, it was sinking into the swamp even as he built it. And he kept on posting about how his renovations were going to massively increase the value of the property and so on. Just the kind of pure absurd hubris that only kinds of guy on the internet can really go for. But, you know, that's a genuine case of this guy has more money than sense and deserves all the contempt he gets. That's a very different kettle of fish to look at these kids having fun at something that I don't understand. You know, we don't really cringe at Global, we gloat. But yes, anyway, now I'm a VTuber. I am cringe, but I am free. But you know, all of that is really to say that I take my being cringe but free very seriously. Yeah, I think, you know, it's a generational thing, cringe, honestly. I genuinely believe that it's on its way out as a response to cultural artifacts, and I think that's a good thing.